tonight. As you know, there'll be many ghost encounters happening all throughout the region. Some pretend, many. It will not be pretend, it will be real.
It will be. And according to our next guest, that experience can have a lasting and life-changing impact, as I'm sure Dr. Margaret Cochran has researched the psychological impact of people who believe they have seen ghosts and probably have. She's here right now to share some of her fascinating findings and stories. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to both of you.
Perfect timing
Very
for you to
styling
be here.
outfits, I think. Very nice.
You look beautiful too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So, are ghosts real?
Let's just dove right in.
Let's just cut to the chase. Well, actually, it's not anything that you can really prove. You know, you see a lot of ghost busting shows and all of that, and it's nice, I guess, for TV, but the truth of the matter is, no matter what you do, there's no way to prove that there's a thing called a ghost. However, the reason why is because it's something called a felt experience. And a felt experience is impossible to prove by linear methods. For example, if you love someone, I would say to you, okay, prove to me that you love them. Well, you can't. You can tell me, well, I'm nice to them, or, you know, I spend time with them, or eat their bad food and I don't complain, you know, whatever. But I might say back to you, well, then you're probably lying. You're doing it to be in the will, or because you think it's socially acceptable. The point is, there's no way to prove something like that.
You also can't disprove it, though.
Exactly right. And so, when we get to the subject of ghosts, what we know is that people have very powerful experiences with, and have for centuries. I mean, there's lots of documented literature on this. Very powerful experiences with something that we really know very little about.
Yeah, and you're the person to go to, too, because you are the world's leading authority on what happens to people and their lives after they've seen a ghost. How did you even get interested in this?
Well, that's another good question. Actually, it happened because a client of mine came to see me, and her daughter had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and she was very upset about it. And then the next day she was supposed to go to the doctor, and they were going to learn about how to do the insulin, because type 2 is an insulin dependent kind. And so she went to bed, and in the middle of the night she felt something pulling on her great toe. And so she woke up, and standing at the foot of her bed was her Uncle Frank. Now, I've changed the details to protect people's privacy.
To protect the innocent, defend the guilty.
As the case may be. And so Uncle Frank's standing at the end of the bed, and he says, Susie, everything's going to be okay. It's just a mistake.
Wow.
And she says, Uncle Frank, you're dead. And he says, I know, honey. I love you. And then he just kind of faded away.
Wow.
So she woke up her husband, and he said, okay, you've gone around the bend. You need to go talk to somebody. So she ended up in my office, and she said, do you think I'm crazy? And, you know, I interviewed her, and she showed no signs of psychosis or drug addiction or anything like that. I said, no, I don't think you're crazy. She said, well, what do you think I should do? And I said, well, I think the best thing to do is take your daughter back to the lab.
Yes.
You've got nothing to lose, right? I mean, you either confirm the diagnosis or you find out Uncle Frank knew what he was talking about. So she did, and indeed it was an error. And if her daughter had used the insulin, it would have killed her.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So Uncle Frank saved her life.
So that would be a good example of a rewarding moment where you're, you know, seeing something like that. I'm sure you've dealt with people who have come to you with maybe a little more trauma than that. I'm guessing.
Yes, well, actually that's true. And one of the things that's interesting about it is that often the trauma and the good news are on the same page at the same time. For example, another woman, she just had a baby, and she lived in the Midwestern United States, so they had one of those cinder block basement affairs, you know, under the house.
Yeah.
No doors, no windows. And so her husband worked nights, and she had the baby, and she was going to go down and do the laundry in the basement. So she put the infant in her big laundry basket, and she was going to carry that down the stairs. So she opens the basement door, flicks on the light, and standing at the bottom of the stairs is a man, dressed in a suit and a tie.
Oh my gosh.
And he goes like this.
Oh.
So she's completely freaked out. She slams the door.
Much like I am right now.
Runs to the phone. You get goosebumps, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Runs to the phone. Runs to the phone and calls her husband and says, oh my God, there's a man in the basement. He says, get out of the house, you know, call the police. So she puts the phone down and she thinks, oh, this is some kind of goofy postpartum thing. There's no one in the basement. There's no way anyone could get in the basement. So she goes back around, flicks on the light, opens the door, and standing at the bottom of the stairs is our friend with his suit and a tie. And he goes like this. So this time she runs out of the house, and just as she does, her husband and the police pull up, and they search the house and do their, you know, thing. And the police officer says, well, there's no sign of forced entry. There's no sign of anyone being in the house. He said, but did you see the crack in the support beam for the stairs?
Oh.
He said, if you'd walked down the stairs with that baby and that laundry basket, that extra weight, I think it would have cracked and you would have either been injured or killed.
Oh my gosh.
So for her, it was a wonderful thing, but it completely challenged her worldview.
Sure.
Who is this guy in my basement? I've never seen him before. What's he doing there? How did he get there? What does that mean? You know, for most people, it's a very life-affirming experience. We all talk about the idea of life after death, you know, does it exist or not? And when you have an experience like this, you realize life does go beyond the body. There is more to it than just our corporeal physical selves.
Oh, we should have had a whole hour with you. This would have been such an interesting.
I
Scott's scared.
I need counseling.
He's got his axe over here. But
We'll take care of you. You'll be okay.
But thank you for sharing all these stories. I'm sure you
Absolutely.
have so many more you could share. We'll have to have you back again.
I'd love
really
to come. It was
interesting.
wonderful. And happy Halloween to you and
Thank
everyone.
you.
No doubt.
Thank you so much.